Hey everybody, just gonna give you an update of where things are at. So I've finished up my third week of working and things are going really great with my new job, really loving it here in Sweden. And I have learned so much new Swedish with my job. If you haven't seen my other video, I'll have a link in that below, but I started working in my first job here in Sweden, working in home health as a under nurse. I'm a nurse from the United States. I'm in the process of getting my license here in Sweden, which means I also have to become more fluent in the Swedish language, which I'm working on at this time. So I've been working at the side of other nurses and getting trained and kind of developing my Swedish abilities here, and things are going very, very well. I'm learning a whole lot. I've never worked in home health before, but that's going really well. Lots of other good things happening. I'm actually going to have my first day of driving classes. I'm going to be doing that this coming Tuesday, and I've also got permission now from the government here that I'm allowed to fly my drone here, so hopefully I'll be able to start getting some nice footage that I can start putting on some of my videos. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, so it seems like things are finally falling into place here. I've been here, I'm going into my 14th month living here in Sweden now. And yeah, super happy. It's not without its challenges. When you move to a new country, no matter where it is, there's always going to be challenges. But I'm still very, very glad that I made the choice to come here to Sweden. I will give y'all some more updates as things go along, but just kind of wanted to keep you on loop of where things are at. One other thing I kind of want to talk about that I've been getting a lot of questions about in my workplace and from people that, just I meet in general. They can't understand why a nurse will come from the United States making supposedly a high salary and then move to Sweden. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. Money isn't everything in life. I think back to some of the people that I've worked with through the years who passed away suddenly and unexpectedly, and they'd worked so hard and they never got to enjoy life. There was a very sweet woman I worked with in one of my first jobs ever in the hospital, which was as a pharmacy technician. She never took vacation days, she never took sick days, and all of a sudden she had a cancer diagnosis and she died within 2 weeks. She never got to enjoy any of that. So it's like, what was the point? The other thing is quality of life. I have a lot of health issues, and for me, I really benefit from the cooler air here. I've got a lot of eczema type issues. I also have a lot of digestion problems, and so I've noticed that the food here tends to be easier for me to digest. So I actually had a lot of rashes on my head and on my arms, and they're gone now, which is just amazing. And I still deal with skin problems, but it's not anywhere near as bad as it was before. I really benefit from the pace of life here. I feel like it's a bit less stressed, a little bit slower for me. I really appreciate the Swedish view about work-life balance. I have had some days where I've had to work a little extra, and I don't mind doing that, but it's kind of interesting comparing it to back home. I remember there'd be a lot of people that wanted to work overtime, but then here in Sweden, they're like, oh no, you need to go home, because I'm supposed to work till 4. And sometimes, I'm like, well, I can stay an extra hour or two, because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. That way we don't have to be rushed the next day trying to catch up on what we needed to do the day before. But no, go home and rest. So it's kind of nice to see that it's just a little bit more balance, I think, when it comes to work life. So yeah, I just want to say that there's much more to life than just making money. I've been getting a lot of questions about, from people that listen to the videos, like, well, what do nurses get paid in the United States, and what do they get paid in Sweden, and things like that. And although those things are important, and there has been studies that connect happiness with how much money that you make, the studies also show that once you get to a certain level, that the happiness doesn't continue to increase. Everybody is different on that scale. We're all kind of fall somewhere in that spectrum. We all have different needs, but money isn't everything. For me, I really enjoy experiences, trying new things, meeting new people, trying new foods. Those are things I can look back on. I've traveled quite a bit in my life. I'm very privileged and granted. I don't take that for granted that I've been able to go around the world. I think it's helped develop me a whole lot. I've learned a lot of good things from visiting people around the world in different countries, and I think that's really important. You know, those are things I don't take for granted at all. So yeah, I could have just stayed in the United States, had my job, just do the same thing over and over, maybe making a bit more, and but no, I'm very happy. I don't regret what I did. Another thing to think about too is it's all relative, right? So for example, in the United States, you have to have a car in almost all places. The majority of places, collective public transportation is not really a thing. Where I came from, it's almost non-existent. It's very hard to get any work if you don't have your own car. And it was kind of interesting. I was talking to someone the other day that the average car payment was $550 a month in the United States, but then I did a double check and I was looking at some other sources, and apparently it's gone up now because of the, during this whole COVID pandemic. So I found some sources that were ranging from $600 to $700 a month just for a car payment. And then on top of that, you've got insurance, which I found the insurance for me here in Sweden is actually cheaper for my car than the insurance was in the United States by a huge amount. My apartment that I live in here, I'm paying just a little over $700 a month for it. And to have the same kind of apartment in kind of a similar area, I probably would be paying $2,000 or more a month. And then you still have taxes. My taxes weren't that much lower than they're gonna be here. Some other things, I just feel like it's easier to access healthier food options here than it was back home. We have it back home, but you have to pay a whole lot of money for it. And it's not always easily accessible. If you want to be a vegan or vegetarian or organic or keto, it's very difficult to find restaurants that cater to that, although they do exist. It's just not quite as common. So yeah, and then I couldn't say that I had a lot of nature where I was at. We had some places where you have to get in the car and you got to drive like an hour to be able to really enjoy some nature out in the middle of nowhere. Here, it's so accessible. I don't have to spend any money. I just ride my bicycle or I walk down the street, and then there's the sea, there's parks. I don't feel like I'm gonna get hit by a car going for a walk or riding on my bicycle. So like I said, there's so much more to life than just money, but it is interesting that it seems to be that so many people, probably the majority of people, when they find out I'm from America, I was a nurse and I came here, they want to know, well, what's up with that? Why are you here? The weather's terrible and the pay is not as good. And that's another thing. I love the weather here, which I know sounds crazy, but I heard there's a saying in Norway that there's no bad weather, just bad clothes. So for me, I really enjoy the weather here. I love the changing of the seasons. Where I came from, you got burning up hot, upper 40s, sometimes pushing 50 Celsius, and then in the winter it'd get freezing cold. And we actually had a period about a year and a half or two ago where a large majority of the state of Texas was without any power because we had a terrible ice storm, and my parents, I know they had damage in their house because their house wasn't set up for all this climate change. And I think that's what's important is, in the end, you just have to find what makes you happy and calm, and you enjoy life and you're at peace and you're able to achieve as many of your goals as possible and have a good quality of life. And that means different things for different people. So anyway, that's kind of just my updates. Just want to talk about that a little bit. And I wish y'all a wonderful rest of your week. Y'all take care. See y'all next time.